I was scared. I was thinking they're gonna take my baby away. I'm young with a baby. I'm sleeping in a car. Um, that was mostly fear of asking for help, losing my son, getting turned away. It was just basically nobody could help me. I was scared of that.
So I've had a variety of experiences while being on the streets. I think the lowest point that I ever hit was sleeping on the corner of Hollywood and Vine. And I remember 3 o'clock every morning, there would be people coming by with a hose, hosing down the stars, but they would also hose me down while they were at it. So I would go back to sleep right after that. Sometimes I wouldn't even wake up super wet around 5 every morning with the police kicking me awake. You know, I felt like less than a person. I felt like I was less than, like I was a burden on society. And there were a lot of people coming by to give me assistance, but there were also a lot of people coming by with their opinions. And yeah, it was dark.
My experience initially started with a friend helping me and my kids out. We stayed with her for a while. Then I ended up staying with a family member for a while. That was over the course of 2 years. And, after living with people for so long, you overstay your welcome at some point. So I started staying in hotel rooms with myself and my children and my fiance. And in the beginning, it was a bit discouraging. We had some family members and some friends who offered to, help us with groceries and things here and there. But it was a bit of a struggle because you have multiple children in one room, and we eventually learned how to make the best of that situation, as best as it could be under the circumstances. I started to buy appliances that I could cook with and, making the room more homey. But it didn't get easier because I wanted them to have their own home. So for me, that experience was traumatic for me. And I know that it was a challenge for my kids at times. And we made the best of it though, and eventually we sought out help.
I had my son with me. So my son was my motivation. I couldn't stop. We were sleeping in a car. So I had to pretend like we were happy, but we weren't. But mentally, I had to be strong for him because he had to look up to mommy. Like, okay, mommy has us. So he was a baby, so he didn't understand. So mentally, I had to be strong for my son.
So the thing about that, about being mentally capable, about being mentally strong, is I didn't manage it. I didn't manage to stay 100% myself throughout all of my experiences. There were times where I broke. There were times when I was that stereotypical bum on the side of the street, smelly, dirty, wearing the same clothes all day, every day. There were times when I had absolutely nothing. And those parts really broke me. But it's not about how I managed to keep it together, it's how I got back to being who I used to be. I did it through fellowship. I did it through the kindness in other people. There were a lot of outreach teams that would come by and they would cheer me up.
I relied on the people that I knew supported me. My school helped a lot. My teachers, counselors. I had got into therapy, and I kind of like zoomed in on a focal point of I'm gonna get into my own place. So I started to apply myself in all these different areas, and being constantly busy kind of kept me focused and kept me sane and balanced.
We were in a car. It was raining really, really bad, and my baby was cold, and I felt like I couldn't put them through it anymore. We were cold. Like, we had nowhere to go. And I'm like, I have to ask somebody to help us. Because if I want, my baby could have got sick. Anything could have happened. So I had to ask for help. Because I didn't want to lose my son in that process of being homeless.
Yeah, when I finally was looking for assistance and getting off the streets, there were a few different people that I turned to. You know, I turned to my friend's place, which helped young adults who were on the streets. I turned to Hope of the Valley, who have a very large program dealing with homelessness. But what finally got me off of the streets was taking charge of my own situation and not putting it into the hands of other people around me. I really had to make the decision for myself to get up off the streets. And ultimately, I had to turn my life over to God. You know, I couldn't just rely on my own understanding. I had to really step into a different point of view and see life differently.
I feel like the moment I realized that I needed help was, I guess there was a week where I knew that I might not have had the money to pay for my room, and I knew I heard people talk about Valley Oasis and stuff, and I reached out to them. And I previously reached out to them because I had already been homeless, but I kind of was in between houses, like, you know, living with people. And this time I was actually in a hotel room with no, you know, I didn't know how I was going to pay for my room the upcoming week. And when I did reach out to Valley Oasis, they immediately responded and started helping me, and that's why I was able to get my own place.
I discovered that I'm a strong person. I didn't give up. I'm motivated. I'm confident. I'm a survivor. I kept going no matter what. My baby kept me going. So I'm a survivor of homelessness. So I'm happy to say that.
What I really discovered about myself while being out there was that I could exist with nothing. That it didn't matter how much or how little I had. I could accumulate enough to not just feed myself, but to feed everybody around me. That I could accumulate enough things, not just have enough for myself, but everyone else around me. You know, it wasn't just food, it wasn't just clothes, shoes, just whatever I set my mind to, I could accumulate excess. You know, I discovered also that I could walk very far. I discovered that I could walk from one end of LA to the other, that it's possible.
The strength that I discovered about myself was resilience. I learned that I do really well under pressure. I'm resourceful, and I'm very independent when it comes to, because I mean, a lot of programs will help you, but they can only help you as much as you help yourself. So how much I did is how much help I was able to get, you know, on my end, what I was able to do. So I learned that I was resourceful, I was resilient, and I could get a lot done. Like, there's not much I can't do.
Life now. Life is good. Yeah. I have a 2-bedroom apartment with me and my son. I go to school, I go to work. Well, I'm not in school currently, but I'm going to school to be a nurse. So I have 2 kids now. My life is good. I'm happy. I'm happy that I survived everything. I'm happy that I'm still making it. I'm going to continue to do better in my life and prevent myself from ever being homeless again.
Okay.
Well, first thing is I probably can't walk from one side of LA to the other now. I've gotten a little bit too comfortable now that I'm indoors. Now it's much easier to go to the bathroom. You know, indoor toilets, big thing that I wish that I had on the streets. Easy to take advantage of, easy to take for granted. But yeah, that's been huge. The ability to bathe, the ability to be presentable, to not walk around looking very clearly homeless. um, life is much different. Now I'm able to reach out to those who I left behind. You know, I feel like I've been called to go out and minister to those who are in the situations that I've left. So now I have some insight. You know, I can recognize homelessness. I can see, hey, that guy's got a backpack. You know, he looks like a middle-aged man with a backpack. Looks a little dingy. He's got dirty shoes. He looks like he might be homeless. Maybe I can help him, you know? And since I've been out there, I know what is necessary and what donations really help. So I'm able to accumulate these things and go out and distribute them to people who are in need.
I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. During the time of me being homeless, I graduated, got my high school diploma. My kids are very happy. They've adjusted to their new school and their new home well. My fiance is working. I would say that my life is going in the right direction, you know. I still have career goals and education goals that I want to achieve. I'm currently pregnant, so I'm taking time to, you know, have my baby, and then I'll get back on my journey with school and my career, but my life is going in a good direction.
My name is Olivia Cherry. I'm with Advancing Communities Together.
Hi, my name's John Glover. I'm with Mental Health America of Los Angeles here in Lancaster. We have sites all around Antelope Valley, and we're also situated in Long Beach as well.
My name is Tramiko Copeland, and I am the outreach coordinator for Valley Oasis and Spa One.
I'm Mike Miller. I'm the Director of Neighborhood Services for the City of Palmdale.
Hi, my name is Shauna. I work for a nonprofit called Pen and Napkin, as well as I run my own homeless ministry called Seen by the King.
My name is Maritza Solis. I'm a case manager with the Penny Lane Centers, specifically the TAPE program. It's a TAPE drop-in center for transitional age youth, ages 16 to 25. This program, we provide on-site services like shower, hygiene, laundry, clothing, bus passes, just a bunch of services on site that youth, whenever they drop in, can have access to that immediately. And then on top of that, we have like the supportive services, so like case management for housing support, mental health support, employment support, education support, and then we also provide a bunch of other support. So that's just pretty much like the idea of it.
Why did I join the fight to end homelessness? It is a spiritual journey for me. It is something that is part of my faith. I feel that we need to help those in need, right? It's an obligation. As far as our organization, it aligns a lot with our values. One of the things that we found as we started the organization was that young people were not coming to our program because of housing instability, right? They were worried about having a place to live. And we were really lucky that we partnered with the City of Palmdale that helped us kind of start our fight to end homelessness in young people with our Palmdale Dream Center. And from that, it grew to building affordable housing in Palmdale.
Well, my own personal history, I got in some difficulty when I was younger, and it's always been at the front of my mind that people have those kind of challenges, because it almost happened to me. My recovery story went in different directions than homelessness, luckily, but it was something that I struggled with. I was on the verge of it a couple of times when I was in my 30s. So I've gotten into mental health services work through Mental Health America of Los Angeles, and went on and got my license as a social worker. And one of the programs that we operate is services to the homeless, persons experiencing homelessness. But even before we actually took on programming specific to that, all the people that we work with are at risk because they're suffering from acute and chronic mental health conditions. And so at any given time, anyone that we work with might have an experience of having been homeless or incarcerated or hospitalized. It's kind of all combined together for some people. And so homelessness was one of the things that has always been part of the profile of many people that I help. But then we actually took on formal programming where we actually do outreach to the homeless and help help them get linked to housing and other services. So it was both because we always did it and because now there's actually funding behind the effort to do it.
I joined the fight to end homelessness because I experienced it growing up. Coming from a household with a single parent, my mother had a hard time making ends meet, and at times we faced evictions and we would go house to house. So I made it my mission to help individuals that are like myself, which is helping people that have experienced homelessness.
I really realized as I became older, I'd been around homeless people since I was a teenager or a young adult, but it was always like at the beach community and different places like that, and it wasn't such a big issue back when I was younger, but as I became older and I really started to be more exposed to people who were maybe disenfranchised or who had different issues that maybe impacted their lives, I started to become more aware, where I really started to become very aware and begin what we would call the fight or maybe the cause when I became more involved in affordable housing and looking at just not people who had housing that needed help in maintaining their housing, but those who truly didn't have housing. So over the years I became more involved, more educated, and I really started associating more with people who were homeless and who had been homeless. And where it really struck a note with me was years ago when I first really started working with YouthBuild. And it was one thing to see adults who had experienced homelessness or who were experiencing homelessness. It was a real different thing then for me to be here in the Antelope Valley and meet young adults who were experiencing homelessness and to really see the challenges that they were facing during those formative years when we're really supposed to be focused on education and work experience. And they weren't getting the opportunity to get exposed to those things. And it was really causing them to fall into what we see as that chain of poverty. And that's when I really started to really become more aware and realizing I really wanted to do more personally, other than just write a check, but really try to use my influence to make a difference.
Why did I join the fight to end homelessness? Well, when I first started, it was because a lot of the times our homeless people are treated less than human. They're always dehumanized, looked at as less than. People don't pay them any attention at all. So I think that is definitely a reason that I was like, okay, God, what are we going to do about this? Because it irks me. It irks me a lot to think that there's people who have hit a hard time, and instead of someone reaching out and giving them a hand to like, okay, come on, like we'll nurture you back to life, it's more like, yeah, you're less than, stay there. And I think even for the nonprofit Pen and Napkin I work for, their mission is to, we furnish homes for families transitioning out of homelessness, because we know that families are more likely to be homeless again if they move into an empty home. And that is something that I think is so valuable, to think that people will go from nothing to having a fully furnished home, and we know that that will stop the homeless rate and returning to homelessness.
So, for Penny Lane Centers, it's my first job here. I started up as a peer specialist, and I went up to case manager. I come from a background of being in the foster care system, so like it puts that into perspective. Like I could have been in that situation. Like I could have been like experiencing what these youths are experiencing, like at risk of being homeless. They're literally homeless in like the streets, the parks. So I feel like that's always like something I go back to, like just me being in the foster care system. Like I could have been in their situation too.
Well, we definitely want to increase in building more affordable housing here in our community. We want our young people to create that affordable housing, to build that affordable housing, because it provides an impact, a long-lasting impact in our community. But also we want to create affordable housing that has training services among them, employment services among them, and bring the career development services that we offer here in our space to those affordable housing areas, like our construction program and like our manufacturing program, and also encompass more mental health, because we know that's a huge need among our unhoused individuals.
Well, I think we need to stop the flow of people into homelessness. Prevention is probably the most effective approach. So while we're out there helping people who are literally homeless, living under Joshua trees in the desert or under bridges or in washes out in the desert, and that's all essential work. Like absolutely we have to do those things because those people are already suffering. But the real prevention is to stop it before it happens. And that's where I'd like to see the emphasis shift towards, so that we're not only helping people who are experiencing homelessness now, but stopping people from going into homelessness. And that's not an approach that is being heavily funded right now. So I'd like to see both things get done. And I think with that, we may never stop homelessness, but we can reduce it significantly. We seriously can, and help people to not be at risk of homelessness in the first place.
My goal to help homeless individuals is to show compassion. I believe individuals that face homelessness at times face judgment. And so if I can show a little compassion, a little, information, resources, just a helping hand, I feel like I'm doing my part in this community to add to it.
Well, I think the first thing we have to realize is that we have to get homelessness right at the gate. We have to deal with it right at the gate, and that's through homeless prevention. When we can work with families and individuals who are housed to help them to make sure they don't lose their housing, that's very important. Be it through rental assistance type programs or programs that provide food or help with utility bills. If we can do everything we can to help to make sure that somebody doesn't become homeless, it's far more effective than when they do become homeless. So that's the first step. The other step too, we have really seen, and I have seen over the years, where we have really let go of what we do for individuals who suffer from mental illness. And I think we could do a lot better job. We need to get back to what we used to do as not only a community, but as a county and as a state, to help people. When people fall out of the area where they're getting the attention that they need to help with mental illness, or be it a physical illness, they self-medicate. And we know that's not a good thing. And individuals get into a position to where it's very difficult for them to focus and maybe come back out. The other part too is really getting back into the formative years for our young adults. Not everybody's going to go to college. Not everybody needs to go to college. There are so many trades out there and so many opportunities. And for some reason, we've lost this path where the young adults, our teenagers, our young adults have the opportunities to really get exposed to areas where they can find success in a great profession that they love to do. And if we can find those things, so we can help to prevent homelessness, help those who are suffering with mental illness, but also giving people the tools they need so that they can be self-sustaining and make a difference. I think those are three factors that we really need to strengthen in focusing on the battle of homelessness.
Yeah, so what's my goal to help the homeless? So my ministry is literally called Seen by the King. And it's because I want them to know that they are seen, that someone cares about them, that someone loves them, that someone is there to reach out and give them a hand and say, do you need resources? Do you need socks? Do you need food? Like, what is your needs? How can I help you? Like, what is something that I can provide for you to know that you're not in this life alone? And on behalf of Pen and Napkin, I think when we think about like our goals for that, our goal is to keep families from being homeless and making sure that they have a place to lay their head, a place where they can feel. We want to make the location that they get a home. We don't want it just to be them moving into a house. We want them to move into a home, something that they can call their own, something that will remind them that this is what you're fighting for. This is what you receive. Just keep going, keep going. So, yes. Yeah, I think our community as a whole is doing a very poor job with our homeless population, exclusively in the Antelope Valley. Instead of going out and providing for them, we just want to move them. So it would be nice if the community actually, because we get lots of money. The AD has a lot of money because I work full time for the Department of Public Health. So I know that we're getting money, we're bringing in income and stuff and revenue. What we should be doing is trying to build homeless shelters and not hotels. Because if you look in any corner, you see a new Hilton, a new Fairchild, a new this, a new that. Why are we getting so many hotels but no homeless shelters? And then even when our city tries to do something, it's like the bare minimum. It's like we're going to push 7 people aside and give 2 people a room in a hotel and a hotel voucher, and then they're going to post about how they've helped our city and how they've helped our community. And it's like, no, you did the bare minimum. You just needed something to make you look good, to cover up all of the injustice that you're doing. So it'd be nice if our communities actually considered our homeless population as people first and foremost before are trying to turn the Antelope Valley into a tourist attraction with all of the hotels and pointless things that we're building out here.
So, like the main goal to help like the homeless youth is providing like advocating for them, like really advocating for them, getting them connected to housing agencies, housing resources. A lot of the times the clients have a hard time of getting in touch with housing agencies. It's like almost impossible for them to like reach out to them because it's like a referral system, or like because of COVID they weren't accepting walk-ins. So that just made it even harder for like clients to get in touch with the housing agencies. Just me being there, like that one like person that's able to like connect them and reach out to the housing agency, their staff, and specifically reach out to them and connect them to the youth. I think that's really important. That way they can get connected and start the housing process. So yeah, advocating and then providing them the resources. Yeah, that's like the main goal. For sure, like I would love to see more like shelters, more housing programs for specifically transitional age youth. There is like the shelter on 60th and Avenue I, but like that one, they're always at capacity. Like I would get youth that call me like, hey, like I'm gonna be homeless by tonight, and I would call the shelter, but they're always at capacity. So it's always like, it's not a good feeling when you can't give someone a bed to stay, you know, for the night. So I would just love to see like a shelter, like more shelters specifically for transitional age youth and like housing programs for them.
The most challenging part of my job, funding. I think that'll be a lot of programs that are doing this is just finding the funding right, and finding sometimes just the willpower to go on, because it feels like it never ends. Homelessness has not ended since the time that we've been here, and so it's hard to find that light and that hope sometimes, but we know it's there.
I think it's twofold. I think that people, they want to see homelessness addressed. They want to help people who are experiencing homelessness, but they also don't really want to, it's a NIMBY issue, not in my backyard. They love the idea of doing the work, but they don't really want it right in their community. And we experience that all over LA County, not just here in the Antelope Valley, but it is present here in the Antelope Valley, and that's combined with stigma, that people who are homeless or have mental health conditions or substance use conditions are somehow morally at fault, rather than it just being the circumstance of life that can affect any one of us. I think as we've gone through this time of pandemic and other social issues and unrest, more people are realizing how close they actually are, that if they lost a job or a wage-earning family member or lost the mortgage on their house, you know, so many people are at risk of homelessness, more so than ever before. And so I think that we have an opportunity here to really shift it. But I think that that people like to say, let's do it, but they're not yet ready, willing and able to do it right in the community. We need to build more housing. So the teams can be out there helping people get linked to housing, but if there isn't housing to link to, we're not going to be successful. And so there is still a higher need for housing than available housing out in the communities, as well as the support services that might come along with it for people who have other issues like substance abuse or mental health conditions, or medical conditions where they might need more help. Because every time a person gets housed, if the underlying problems aren't addressed, they're at risk of going homeless again. We see people who have come into housing over and over again, only to find that some underlying problem isn't being addressed and they go homeless again. And then we could do a lot with education to help the community understand that that homeless individual you see could very well be you or someone in your family, and that they might look different because of what they're going through. But they started out as a resident here, a child in our schools, a family member, an employee, and then circumstances led to them going homeless. And now they're over there, they're that person, you know. But when we talk to them, and I do every day, people tell me about having attended the high schools in the area, having grown up with family, having lost a loved one, or the wage earner in the family isn't able to bring in money or dies, or something tragic happens that tips the balance they go homeless, but they're our kids and our next door neighbors. And so I think the real thing is to get real about these are people too, but they're not just people, they're actually just like us, except they've been through something that we just by fortune haven't experienced yet. And if we can help them, we can prevent the problem from impacting us. So we're really helping ourselves when we help people who are going through such ways.
The most challenging part of my job is the compassion at times and the passion. Me being an empath at times makes it difficult. I believe that we have to meet individuals where they are. And at times it's hard when somebody may not be ready to go into housing. A lot of people that are out there are facing, mental health issues or substance abuse issues, or even they're just broken. And so when you can't take an individual home or you can't provide them with instant housing or resources that they need immediately, I'm impacted, and unfortunately I take that home with me.
Creating housing, it's a hurdle. It's a huge hurdle. I think we all acknowledge the fact that there are homeless individuals in our community, and the next step is really when they're ready that day to make that choice to accept moving into housing, because sometimes that takes time. I always put the homelessness as like a box of crayons. There's just aren't two colors or three colors. There's all different shades of homelessness. And you never know that day when somebody's going to say, hey, today's my day. So we might be able to get them into transitional housing, and we might be able to get them into a program that really helps them to get the tools they need and to find balance in their life again. But at the end of the day, it's about creating affordable housing. We have a shortage of housing in the state of California as it is. But when we look for that special housing where it has the wraparound services that somebody might need, or just that good basic affordable housing that an individual, a single parent, or a family needs, we struggle there. So I think the biggest challenge is getting the funding in line with less red tape and let local communities dictate and move to create that affordable housing. If we can get past some of those hurdles where we're all in different situations in the community. So to roll out a program that just says this is going to work statewide or this is going to work countywide, that's a huge challenge. If we can get past that and we can create the housing that we need, that's the biggest hurdle.
And I'm gonna be honest, the most challenging part for me in Seen by the King is actually putting myself out there to talk to people, because I'm good at talking to people, but I don't want to say the wrong thing when I'm dealing with our homeless population. And even with the titles, some people are like, no, they're not homeless people, they're people experiencing homelessness. They're not homeless people, they're the transient community. Like, they're not staying in the side of the road, they're not just sleeping in nowhere. Those are called encampments. So knowing that there's a whole world of terms and information and stuff that goes into our homeless population that nobody actually takes the time to think about. So actually having to think about those things and figure out if I'm saying the right thing, am I going about it the right way. I don't want to offend anyone with trying to let them know that they're seen, And then pen and napkin, I think the difficulties, and this is going to sound crazy, the difficulty with our homeless population when it comes to pen and napkin is the sense of entitlement that people get. Because what we do, when we go in and furnish it, it's all donations. Like, there's people who are pouring into you, and sometimes it becomes a sense of entitlement. Like, I deserve this, or I earn it. And it's like, yes, you qualify, you earn this, we're doing this for you. But you also can't remember where you came from, And sometimes talking to people, they're just like, do this, do that, do this. And it's like, whoa, like I'm here for you. We want to support you. We're trying to love you and do this right. But also, like, humble yourself, So it's a dynamic. You go from one community of being like, okay, I don't want to say the wrong things, to the other where it's like, no, I'm trying to serve you and I'm a servant, but also, like, chill. But also, I think that is also it's a beautiful thing as well, because we get to see the excitement that they get when they see the home. Like, when the reveal comes, they're like, whoa, like, this is ours, like, this is our stuff. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
I guess that would go back to like what I just said, yeah, like not enough shelters or housing programs to get clients into. Yeah, it's like not a good feeling when like they call me, like they just tell me like, hey, I'm literally homeless, like what can you do? And like the shelters are at capacity. So I mean, I would love to like get them into like a housing program right away. Like, hey, we have a bed here. Like I would love to do that. Like I always talk to my partner about like, oh, one day like I really do want to build like either a shelter or a housing program where clients can get into that like immediately. Like, cause the housing process, like with the shelter, you can get in one night. But like the other housing programs, it's like a whole process. It takes like weeks until a client gets housed.
Fulfilling part, there's a lot of fulfilling aspects of our work. So again, specifically with the housing programs that we have, we're able to house, young families that are no longer living in the street. They're housed for at least 2 years in our program, and so they can find steady work, create financial plans for them to transition out. And it's great when they find that permanent housing. That is the most fulfilling part of our job. And of course, the other part is our young people creating affordable housing. I think that it's such an impact. It's a long-lasting impact that they'll know and feel for the rest of their lives.
Well, we do it every day, right? Like we're often asked to share success stories, and while we have some amazing stories at times, what we do every day is actually the solution. We literally find people, and often those people aren't really ready to have what we offer. Not everybody's ready to move into housing because they haven't been able to trust it. They've lost it in the past, so it seems really risky to take it back on and only to lose it maybe again. So we start out working with people and we slowly build relationships with them. We build rapport. After a while, trust starts to set in and the relationship becomes more workable. And we eventually get them housed. And we reunify them with families, and we get them connected to medical, substance use, and maybe mental health treatment if needed. We get them connected back into the community, places to find passion in life, and meaning and purpose, right? Whether it be like in the faith-based community or getting a job or what have you. That happens every day. We do it all the time. And sometimes we kind of lose sight of how wonderful it is that we can do that to lift people from such tragedy. So I think that's it. But one story that comes out is a woman who's in her early 70s. She was literally homeless, living behind a bush, and just off in the desert a little bit from a main street here in the Antelope Valley. And our team happened to notice her one day. Because so many people who need help and some people don't want the help. But we happened to stop this day and asked her if she needed it, and she did. And she had so much going on, from medical conditions to age-related problems with her memory and being able to make decisions and take care of herself. And the last thing that she was going to be able to do was find housing. And we were recently able to help her get housed, get reconnected with a daughter who's now in her life who can help her, and get connected to medical care and some aftercare programs for people her age that provide, some things to do during the day. I think a senior center was helpful, and so she's really happy today. Now it's only a few weeks into this, so a lot of support is still needed, but that's an example of what we do, and we do it like every day. It'd be great to work ourselves out of a job, so to speak, and not have to do this anymore to solve the problem. But in the meantime, being able to actually help one person at a time like that, it means the world. It makes it worth it, So, I'd like to, one person at a time, first prevent homelessness when we can, but get people out of homelessness and into housing and into, good connection with their community and have meaningful and fulfilling lives again.
The most fulfilling part of helping homeless individuals is the outcome. Knowing that you touch somebody, knowing that they can walk away feeling a bit empowered. If that consists of offering a hug, if that consists of offering them a meal, a couple of dollars, a housing resource, I've done my part in helping the individual. which I feel is God's work. I don't believe that I'm here just by chance. I am doing purpose work. And if I can show a little compassion and love like our Father says, then I've done my part to make our Father happy. A memorable moment for me while working with homeless individuals is a particular woman, I won't say her name. I met her at the library. She had all her things with her and she was just coming for some help. And I took some time to ask her just how she's doing. I gave her the time to express how she was feeling, also to express what she needed, what she didn't have, and what she was looking for. I just listened. I listened and I gave her the time. I connected with her on a different level. After we were done talking, she walked up and gave me a hug. And we know with the world, the homeless individuals are judged. She didn't smell the best. She wasn't clean, but I was able to put what I would think or anybody would think would be uncomfortable down and hug her, genuinely hug. And I felt it through my body, through my bones. And we would talk occasionally after that. She would call me and I became that go-to person for her when it came to releasing whatever she was going through, or if she needed help with something, she would call me. And that is one of the most memorable things I could think of. It touched me so much. It reminded me of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And it just brings me great joy. Eventually she found housing and she would always just thank me. And we don't do it for the likes or the thanks, but it's good to know that the work that we do is being done and completed and there is a positive outcome to it.
The most fulfilling part of it is when you meet somebody who might have been homeless or might have lost their housing, and to see them later on. I can tell this one story, and this is why I find the value of YouthBuild and with our community partners like ACT and Victory Outreach and so many other groups that work with us here, our service providers like Valley Oasis. It's a huge community effort. So what's the reward? The reward is one day I was leaving to go on vacation, and it was super early in the morning, and I had to run to Walmart, get back home, get in the car, and go to LAX so I could go get a few days off. And as I was leaving Walmart that morning, nobody else was in the store. It was super early, and I go walking out, in t-shirt, board shorts, flip-flops, and I've got a couple little items I bought, and I have a receipt, and there's somebody there at the door that asks me to see my receipt. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm the only guy in the store. I hand him the receipt, and he looks at me, and then he looks at the receipt, and he's looking at the receipt. He says, "How you doing, Mr. Miller?" And I went, "How does he know my name? My name's not on the receipt, right?" So I said, "Oh, I'm doing pretty good." And he said, "You don't remember me, do you?" Well, that's always embarrassing when somebody asks and you don't. And I said, "No, I apologize. I meet a lot of people, and I apologize." And he said, "Well, about 3 years ago, I was walking through Corson Park on a Sunday when there was a big community event going on with a lot of community groups and Gabriel's house. The kids were playing music there, and we were all gathered at the park. And this person was walking through the park, and they've been homeless for a number of years. They walked into the park, and they were really embraced by the people of our community." I don't want to get too emotional. And that day, that person decided was their day to no longer be unhoused, that they were going to take the opportunity. So all these years leading up to that day, what if those community partners had not been in the park that day? What if people had not cared? Where would that person be today? Fast forward 3 years later, that person is standing at Walmart checking my receipt and was now oversees the security at that Walmart. So to get a hug from that person, if my vacation had been canceled that minute, I would have been happy. So when we think of those things, we have to think of our community, and the biggest reward is that somebody may be in a situation today. What have we done to help them to be out of that situation for tomorrow, and later on be able to do things in our community to really make a difference? That's the huge reward.
So, the most fulfilling part of, we'll start with pen and napkin. The most fulfilling part of Pen and Napkin is seeing them walk into the homes. Is to see them walk into something that was once empty, so full of life. And to see like little kids going and getting on a bed and being like, this is my bed, like this is mine, are you sure this is mine? And it's almost like they're scared to touch it because they think they're gonna lose it, but they're like, no, this is the world, like this is mine, like I can have this, you know. So I think it's amazing to see the way families light up and to see how I think even the team, like I'm just a volunteer coordinator for them, and I actually go out and volunteer occasionally, but I'm not on every install. And usually we'll put the family in a hotel room for the 2 days that we're painting and furnishing and stuff. So when they do see the reveal, it's like, it's just so genuine. And seeing moms cry and seeing the amount of joy and hope. I think that is more important, the hope that they have to know that like they were once down and out, but here they are today, and they have a home, and they have their keys, and they have a bed, and it's not like we're going to give them the bare minimum. No, we're going to throw in the TV for you. Do you need a TV? We got you. You need some wall art? We got you. This is yours now, you know. So I think that is amazing. And then when it comes to Seen by the King, I think hope, also showing people God's love, knowing that people walk away feeling seen and heard. And I think I'm going to, again, revert back to hope. We live in a world where we see so much negativity and so much hopelessness. Like, so many people are just hopeless, and they don't see that tomorrow will be better. Like, come on, like, you got this. So even having my team go out and pray for them and let them be seen and stuff, it's almost undescribable to talk about, to see how God moves in them. And yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just an amazing feeling to let people know that they're seen, and it's not even me. It's like, it's for my good, but it's for God's glory. So me getting to see that is like gratification enough. It's just like, wow, like, God, you did that. Like, look, there's hope. Yeah. I'm gonna answer that like that because I can undescribe and not know how to describe and sit here and tell you I don't know how to describe the feeling for the next hour. But yes, that is the answer.
It would be, so like the Tay Center, we have like the on-site services where they can come in immediately and like use the shower, laundry, like the hygiene items, get food. So it's always like a good feeling when someone who's been in the streets for a long time and they come to the Tay Center, they get brand new pairs of shoes, they get new clothing, they get to shower in like a really like nice shower, warm water. So when they get to do that, like that's just a good feeling. Like you're able to provide that right then and there. They don't have to wait for that. And then another good part is like when they actually get housed, and like the process, it can be a little lengthy, but it is all worth it in the end. Like they'll come to me a little frustrated, like a little like discouraged, because like they feel like it might not work out, but like if they stick to the process, like at the end it's all worth it. And like their mood changes too. Like when they see that they're about to get this apartment, when they're about to get this housing program, it's just all worth it.
There are many ways that you can contribute to the fight against homelessness. Some of these ways are through volunteering at your local shelter or even just donating your time and supplies.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Lemos, and I believe that anyone could help a homeless person on a regular day by helping them with what they can money-wise, or buying them a meal for today or even for tomorrow, so the homeless person won't have to wake up and wonder how will they do it, how will they feed themselves. That must be a hard situation for them because everyone gets hungry, everyone gets thirsty. I can't even imagine going through something like that. It doesn't take much to have a kind heart and offer help.
I would help them homeless by providing an Uber, just in case they have any interviews or somewhere important where they have to go and really attend to. And also donating clothes is a great option. You know, they're cold, it's winter, it's kind of cold. Any beds, donating anything that they would need, I would definitely do.
Themselves in their shoes, seeing how it is that they live, how they get through the day, how they manage to stay strong besides, all the obstacles that they have in front of them. And I want to know what we can do to help them.
What happens is that we generalize homeless people, right? We say they're like this and they're like that. But just like you and me, we have very different of opinions and we have very different paths. So it takes someone who's genuine and to really connect with anybody, right? Anybody, regardless if they're homeless or not, unhoused or not. So it really just takes the time to just connect with someone. Because you can find fake people regardless.
Right.
And I mean, for us, it's more about we're going to help the ones who want the help, and that's always going to be consistent, right? So someone who needs the help will consistently be there because they want that support, and we will have our doors open.
Hi, my name is Termiko Copley. I'm sorry. Okay, that's the third time. Okay, I swear, that's it.
What is your name and organization?